Hey everyone, Dr. Frunkey here with a new knife consult video. In front of us we've got the Reate Knives Epoch. This is a knife that comes to me by way of my good friend Keving Cleary. He just purchased this knife in a trade. He sold his Ferrum Forge Archbishop for this very cool and very unique knife. This is a knife that I have been looking at for a long time. Reate has a couple of knives in this sort of size that have been very tempting to me. Kevin actually has one of those knives. That's the Torrent, is the other one that's super tempting to me. This 3.5-inch blade size seems to be my perfect blade size for my hand, and this really surpasses all of my expectations. And we'll talk a little bit about why. He is a fan of the bigger knives, and I am a fan of knives in this size category, particularly the ZT0392 series. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and bring out a knife for comparison so that you understand kind of what's going on here. This is the 0392 BLK, and these knives are remarkably similar. So I'm going to bring this knife out a couple of times for some comparison points, some pros and cons, and we'll get to understand why this knife is so awesome, in my opinion. So for those who don't want to watch through the whole video, this is going to be a rather positive reviewing of this knife. Now, I have really only been handling this knife in and around the house. I haven't carried it extensively because it does not belong to me. But I have cut with it a little bit, just a little bit, and I've kept it sort of light duty because of the DLC coating. But I do want to talk about why I like this knife and some of the nice things that are going on here. So, as we do normally, let's go ahead and break this thing down anatomically so that we get a good understanding of what's going on. Up front, we've got a 3.5-inch blade of CTS 204P steel, which happens to be one of my absolute favorite steels, and the steel that is present on my two favorite iterations of the 0392 series, my BRN GLD and that 0392 Black that you just saw. This has a very nicely done machine satin finish. I'm going to bring this in super close so that you can see those grind lines. They've done an awesome job of applying this DLC to the blade. This honestly reminds me, in a good way, of some of the Marfione work and Microtech work, even of some of the Rockstead work, in the sense that they do a very thin layer of this DLC to the point where you can actually see the beautiful finish work that they've done on the knife and on the blade itself. Sorry, my camera's having trouble focusing on this right now. Sorry, here we go. All right, so you can see the vertical satin finish lines going on there. They're carried up on that top swedge, and there are horizontal hand-rubbed satin flats going on there that you can still see through the actual DLC finish, and I like that a whole lot. Now, it looks like there is a Blade Designer's logo right here. I looked around on the Reate site and a couple of other of the retailers' sites, and I couldn't really find any information about who that is. If someone wants to enlighten me and the rest of the community as to who that designer might be, that would be really awesome. You can see that this one is numbered 326 out of 400. I believe that they did 400 iterations of each of a different type of finish. So they've got some with a plain satin finish, they've got some with a Damasteel blade, and they've got some with different handle finishes. So really cool to see the variety on that. I do actually really like the way that this one looks because of the way that it makes this Mokutai piece sort of pop out. We'll get to that in a little while. I really like the blade size at 3.5 inches. It's highly functional. It's got a really nice swedge going on up top. It's got a nice sharpening choil down below for those who like to sharpen their knives. I will say that it came remarkably sharp. I'm going to go ahead and bust out a piece of paper I've already been cutting on here. Let's see if I can get a nice slice going. Yeah, look at that. So perfect cutter. There are really no major imperfections in the grind. That's just my cutting technique there. The sharpened edge is excellent, and it has stayed that way despite some light use from its first owner. So very impressed with that. Overall, it's about 0.16 of an inch in thickness on that blade stock, but it's been ground to a nice high flat grind right there. and so it does cut pretty well. It probably slices about as effectively as the 0392. It's not going to be the knife of choice for slicing apples per se, but it might be a good knife for sort of heavier duty carry and sort of emergency use. And Kevin is a part-time firefighter, so I do think that it will function well in that regard. So enjoy the thickness on that, kind of the overbuilt category going on there. There is a bit of, I'll say, quote-unquote, jimping going on the top of the blade. Not a whole lot of traction on that. Your thumb definitely slides back and forth without any positive traction there. But it does provide a nice landing zone for the thumb to sit on. And ergonomically, it makes a lot of sense. It fits really well. There's no forward finger choil, but just like with the 0392s, it's not really necessary given the ergos of this knife. There's nothing in the way of the cutting edge. There's no thumb studs that are in the way, so you're gonna have full utility of the entire blade length. Really, really like that. It's a classic drop point shape. Really can't argue too much with what's going on the blade there. Moving back, we've got a ceramic multi-row bearing system that's going on the inside here. Super, super smooth action. It totally just drops shut. It's even smoother in a lot of ways than the 0392s. After this has been broken in, I can't speak to what this knife is like straight from the factory, but it is very smooth right now. It's been well worn in, and it is super, super nice. That action is really, really incredible. You can see the bearing washers on the inside there. The lockup is really, really nice. It's early enough, but it's solid enough. It's got a steel lock bar insert going on there. And of course, as you can see, it's a flipper-only deployment. It does have a perfect detent, and it likes to be push-buttoned. It can also be light-switched, whatever you like. In a lot of ways, again, I'm going to bring this out again. It's very, very similar to the 0392s. I can't, this is the comparison here is really, really close. These knives are extremely similar in a lot of ways, and that's a good thing in my opinion because I absolutely love those ZTs. So I appreciate that the pivot hardware is rather simple. It's Torx construction there. Heavy-duty pivot screws, heavy-duty screws on the handle. We're going to move back and talk about the handle here. We've got a nice couple of pieces of 6AL4V titanium, which have been extensively milled out. Let me see if I can capture that in the light there. It's a little bit difficult given the angle of light that we're working with here. Maybe you can see it there. Yeah, so there you can see some milled out pockets. It's on both sides. That brings the weight down significantly. We'll go ahead and do a little weight comparison here. So this knife, as it is in stock form, is running at 5.3 ounces, as opposed to my somewhat modified 0392 with its copper pieces running at 6 ounces. So shaved off almost an entire ounce with some of that pocketing, and so that's really nice. Very ergonomic handle. All of this is nicely rounded and chamfered. It's got a nice back spacer with a little bit of positive traction, kind of matches that jimping up top. Not a whole lot of grip, but it does feel nice in a tactile sense. There is a lanyard hole that's built into it, so that doesn't mess up the lines of the knife. No glass break or anything on the end. That's totally fine. It's got a bag-style pocket clip with that ceramic ball bearing going on there. I think that's licensed from Todd Begg and his crew. Very, very functional, very, very nice. 3D milled titanium clip with that ceramic bearing. I really like it. Perfect tension on the pocket. Very nice flexibility. Not too much, not too little. Got to appreciate that. Obviously, it's a frame lock. You can see here all the screws seem to match each other. I really do appreciate that as well. So how is it for EDC? It's basically ideal for me. I really, really, really appreciate it. It slices perfectly. For me, it does all your EDC tasks. It's got that slight overbuilt quality that I like in knives. But it is a little bit lighter than 0392s. This comes in a little bit more advanced than that. And what it does have that sets it apart from almost everything on the market is this piece of mokutai. No conversation about this knife would be complete without that. It's a really, really nice piece there. It seems a little bit out of place. I really think that they could have maybe integrated a little bit differently, and that's really only from looking at it in the pictures. But I really do appreciate it, and I think that it brings a little pop of color to this knife, especially the all-black version. something that I don't think that I really appreciated in just looking at it in the pictures is what it really does for the knife ergonomically. When you're holding the knife, getting ready to open it, it provides a little traction point for your thumb to sit on so that you can open it nicely and smoothly. And then when you get your fingers around the knife, it provides a little island of traction for those back 3 fingers to really land on and provide some nice grip. There's not really any aggressive jimping on this knife, but it does provide for a nice traction point for the fingers there. So I really, really appreciate that. It gives you confidence in hand. So since I've already compared this knife to the 0392, I'll go ahead and bring that out here. I'll bring out a couple of the other knives that I've just kind of got laying around here for some size comparisons. We've got a Peter Rizzenti Satori. That's running at about the same size. I can show you my Frank Fisher and Robert Carter Talon that's going on here, also with a little bit of a Mokutai accent going on. A little bit smaller knife right here at 3.25 inches. I've got a Jerry McGinnis and Tashi Barusha Rowdy High Tech, which is also running at about a 3.5 inch blade. Let's see, move this out of here. I've got a Browse blade going on right here. This is going to be coming up for review within a couple of days. I want to say that this is called the Division or the Intrepid. I'm going to have to look that up, but maybe you can tell me what that one's called there. Really been enjoying that knife. I've got a Ferrum Forge Knife Works Stinger coming in an SM100. That's a smaller knife as well at 3.25 inches. So a nice size going on there and very comparable to a lot of the sort of tactical folders and tactical flippers that are out there on the market today. And so in terms of talking about them in size, let's talk about them in terms of price. So the Epoch, as you see it in front of you, comes in at $425. That's in the 204p version. Mind you, this ZT came in at about $400. They're running out of these rapidly. I think they're still available at just a few retailers, maybe only 1 or 2 at this point. They haven't completely sold out as far as I know as of the making of this video. But $425 and you're getting a piece of Mokutai. I think that's really the selling point of this knife, is that if you have ever like sort of lusted after a piece of Mokutai, but you don't want to pay $1,500 for a high-end custom knife that has it on there, then this may be your entry point and your knife to sort of check that out and see what it's like. They have done a beautiful, beautiful job. I'm going to bring this in for a real close-up of really making a symmetrical piece of Mokutai there. You can very nicely see the 4 rings or the 4 or 5 rings that are going on there, that they've really lined up well and they've heat treated it to absolute perfection. It doesn't seem to have worn away in any way as the previous owner was using it. There are a couple of wear marks in the DLC, and that's totally fine. Everyone who buys a full DLC knife, if you intend to carry it, you're going to get some marks. Again, my 0392 has a couple of love marks on it. Not a whole lot. I have done pretty good at not really messing this up. There are a couple of love marks on it here and there. Those can honestly be wiped away most of the time. I haven't taken the time to do it with Kevin's knife here, but I bet if I put some gun cleaner on here and wiped some of that away, those marks might actually go away. So I'll talk to him about that before I send it to him. But really, really impressed with this knife. You know, as much as I rave about those ZTs, this knife is really one level beyond in terms of engineering. It's got the multi-row ceramic bearings, it's got the Mokutai, and it's got milled out titanium liners, and so it's just a little bit lighter. It's really, really smooth. I'm actually very impressed with the action on this. I had a Reate Knives, the Liang Ma Tempest, a while back, and I also had the Integral Tashi Barusha Future. This is by far the smoothest one of those 3 knives, so very impressed by the action. I wonder if the Torrent is this smooth as well. I may just have to go and pick one of those up at some point. I'm in love with that knife. I'm still looking to find one of those at a reasonable price on the secondary market. So what is my overall impression of this knife? Awesome. This knife is really, really great. It's executed very, very nicely. This is one of my favorite color combos. My good buddy Nico has one in blue handle with a full satin finish blade. I think that one may be my absolute favorite combination because it brings out the blue of the Mokutai and allows the full satin blade. This one comes in a close second because it makes it all stealthy, but then you've got that beautiful coloration in the mokutai. Very, very impressed by this knife. Reate Knives is just killing it right now. They've got some new knives coming out in 2017 that are really, really going to impress a lot of people. Thrilled to have this finally in my hands. Big thanks to Keving Cleary for letting me get this through his trade. I'm about to ship this up to Canada to him, so look out on his channel. Go ahead and follow him. You're probably following him if you're following me. I have a bit of a smaller channel here, but he's going to do a review on this, and he's going to be carrying this. So thank you to him very much. Thank you to Reate Knives for making such an interesting piece and making this piece of mokutai available on the market for a reasonable $425. Go ahead and click like and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and follow me over on Instagram at Dr. Frunkey. Follow Keving Cleary here on YouTube and Instagram. And thanks so much for stopping in and watching, guys. I appreciate the time to get to talk to you and share these knives with you and the community. As always, guys, this is Dr. Frunkey saying take care.